What's going on, Crimson Tide fans? Chris Daughtry here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, Kam Dewberry sat down with the Bama Standard podcast and talked a little bit about his progression throughout the spring and that battle at that left guard spot. Also, is a ninth SEC game coming to the schedule. We'll talk about all that on today's show. Before we get into that, though, I want to ask you guys to go ahead and give me a follow over on Twitter. That's at Chris Chat Sports. All of our videos that you see here on the channel, if you miss it, don't get that push notification. That's okay. If you follow me over on Twitter, I post all of our videos over there as well. So help me out. Go ahead and give me a follow over on Twitter. That's at Chris Chat Sports. All right, first up on today's show, Texas A&M transfer offensive lineman Kam Dewberry sat down with the Bama Standard podcast and spoke about his growth during spring practice. Dewberry is in the midst right now of a battle at that left guard spot with Geno VanDeMark, maybe even Olasolinen as well, but I think him and Geno VanDeMark are really the two guys there. And this race could be very close, and it could even go into the season as well. I predicted a couple videos ago that I think Geno VanDeMark is going to win that battle at that left guard spot. It is a prediction, so it could be wrong. I'm not afraid to say that, but I would not be surprised at all if Kam Dewberry is also the guy that wins that battle at that left guard spot to replace Tyler Booker. The VanDeMark prediction mainly comes based off those critical snaps that he was able to play last year for Alabama when he was rotating in and out with Jaden Roberts because he was kind of banged up throughout the season as well. The coaching staff really did rave about Geno VanDeMark, about, just how hard he practiced, and he deserved and earned those spots and those snaps at that right guard spot last season. And I think he gained a lot of trust from the coaching staff as well, just in how well he played when he had to go into some of those games. Now, with Kam Dewberry, this is his last season of eligibility, and he did not come to Alabama to end up losing that job. He definitely wants to be a starter, and he said in his interview that, one of the main things to win that job was really to trust the process of this Alabama coaching staff right now. He talked about the fact that, your strength and conditioning coach, David Blue, has really been kicking his ass in the weight room and just making him a better player. And one of the main key things for him, he's got to be able to stay healthy. That was one of the things that has kept him out of the starting lineup throughout the majority of his college career at Texas A&M. And he said something as well that really struck me, and it reminded me kind of that mentality that you heard from a guy like Tyler Booker as well. These are some of the things that Kam Dewberry talked about. First up, we're going to talk about what he said in regards to kind of just trusting the process. He said, they're telling me you have a really good talent. If you really just trust in us and believe in us, you're really going to F people up. If you're going to really be able to maximize the player and be who you want to be, they're telling me just to trust in them. I've already seen a difference from January to now, just how much stronger I've gotten and just physically how my body has changed. I just got to keep going through it. I have to have a really good summer. I have to have a really good May and summer leading up into fall camp, and they're making my body out of metal right now. They're making my body into metal. Just trust the process and doing what they're telling me to do. I feel like I bring physicality. That's the first thing that I am. Some boys know when I go out there, you're going to have a headache after the game. I'm just going to keep coming. That sounds like some real Tyler Booker stuff if I've ever heard it right there. That's just real savage there from Kam Dewberry. So let me know here at the pinned comment of today's video, will Kam Dewberry win that left guard spot for Alabama in their 2025 season? Let me know what you guys think of the pinned comment. Type Y for yes or N for no, especially if that ad comes here on YouTube. Now, I thought last year in 2024, Kam Dewberry did not play a lot, only 261 snaps for him, but he played at least 25 snaps at that left guard spot in 4 out of the last 5 games of the season for Texas A&M last year. He played 1 snap versus Texas in the final game of the regular season. That wasn't even at that guard spot. He was actually at inline tight end spot, but he only did give up 1 sack in those 4 games there, and that's really all you can ask. Also, no penalties as well. That's pretty damn good. So bringing him in as well, you got him versus Geno VanDeMark in this game. And honestly, man, both of these players, whoever it's going to be a really good player for Alabama. Got a lot of confidence in them. Got a lot of confidence in Geno VanDeMark as well. But Kam Dewberry as well, just him saying that he was in the best shape of his life going into next season, I think that just bodes well for Kam Dewberry possibly winning that job at that left guard spot. We'll get into some more stuff here about a possible 9th SEC game getting added to the schedule. But first, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. You guys can get up to 30% off right now on Alabama hoodies just by going over to chatsports.com/Bama hoodie. They got hoodies. They got crew necks. They've got quarter zips. They've got everything that you guys could want for Alabama gear. They got hats, shorts, shoes, everything out there for some Alabama gear. So head over to chatsports.com/Bama hoodie and get up to 30% off today. That link will be in the comments section and the description of today's video. Now, The Athletic actually reported that ESPN is willing to pay the SEC $50 to $80 million if they would be willing to add a 9th conference game to the SEC schedule. Currently, right now, the SEC only plays 8 conference games plus 4 out-of-conference games. And I think it's time, right? We have to start just really coming to the conclusion that a 9th SEC game really makes more sense than it does not make sense to be added to the schedule. This is what Alabama's non-conference schedule looks like next season. You got Florida State, Louisiana Monroe, and Wisconsin to start off the season. And then you have later in the season before that Auburn game where you play Eastern Illinois. And I really do credit Alabama. I think they've done a pretty good job when it comes to scheduling a couple of notable Power 4, Power 5, whatever it is, non-conference games, both in the past and they have a lot already scheduled in the future as well. But, we can do without these true cupcake games against Louisiana Monroe, against Eastern Illinois. Nobody wants to watch that crap. The only positive that you get from playing some of those lesser-known schools, some of those smaller cupcake games, are the fact that tickets might be a little bit cheaper and families that normally can't afford to go to regular games can actually, make the trip and they're able to swing it. But that's pretty much it. We pay these teams like $1 million, $1.5 million to come down to Tuscaloosa and play us. And, that does fund their athletic program. But at the end of the day, man, college football is getting so big. I hate to say it, it might be super brutal, but that's not really our problem. Like, I would love it if we had one more conference game. We'll get into more of it here in just a second, but I think you can throw some other non-conference games in there anyway, or as well, because let's be honest, like, are you really going to be afraid of an Indiana or an SMU getting added to the schedule as a non-conference game? I don't think anybody would be really scared of that. So let me know here in the comments section, how many conference games do you guys think the SEC should play? Type 8 if you think they should play 8, or type 9 if you think they should add a 9th conference game to the SEC schedule. Now, these are the teams right now that Alabama does not have scheduled on their 2025 schedule. Arkansas, Florida, Kentucky, ooh, so scared. Mississippi State, I'm trembling in my boots. Ole Miss and Texas, maybe even Texas A&M as well. Those are the only 3 teams that could really even, in my opinion, give Alabama any kind of trouble. So, are we really scared about adding one of those teams to the schedule? I certainly am not. I think it would just be better for fans just in general. And look, I think at this point, it is time for the SEC to grow a pair. Everybody else does it. Every other conference out there plays 9 conference games. I also think that college football as a whole needs to revamp the scheduling. They need to revamp this conference alignment as well. I think we should be playing 9 conference games. Then the other 3 weeks throughout the season that you don't have conference games, you can rotate and play the other 3 conferences. We can even space those out so you're not playing all those non-conference games at the beginning of the year and then you get into the depths of your SEC schedule. Maybe you play 1 non-conference game to open up the season. You play 2 or 3 SEC games, play another non-conference games, a couple more SEC games, so on and so forth there. I think you could also have these really fun events where you could have an SEC versus Big Ten weekend, an SEC versus an ACC weekend. That would be really fun in my opinion. And then you can have another data point for the playoff committee to be able to look at and say, hey, look, the SEC versus the ACC that weekend, the SEC was the better conference. They beat the hell out of the ACC. So you're not having to go out there and have these hypothetical discussions of, oh, the SEC is better than this conference or this conference is better than the SEC. You wouldn't have those arguments anymore because you would have an actual data point. Hey, how did the SEC play against the ACC or the Big Ten or whoever it is? you can go head to head against those conferences and against those teams, and you can actually have data to prove that. And also, expansion is coming. You're about to have a 16-team college football playoff, and the SEC already wants 4 guaranteed spots for those 16 or for that 16-team playoff, bracket that you're going to have. If the SEC and the Big Ten get 4 guaranteed spots, you have to go to 9 conference games. If you are the 5th best team in your conference, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs anyways. I am already anti-expansion as it is, but I don't think the 4th, because, honestly, the 4th best team does not deserve to go to the playoffs in my opinion anyways, but that does seem to be the way it is going, and there should be no excuses at this point. If you get 4 guaranteed spots, you got to grow a pair, you got to play 9 conference